Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Crossovers in video games is nothing new. You have Super Smash Bros. That crosses over characters from video game franchises. You have Marvel vs. Capcom, which combines Marvel and Capcom. You have SNK vs. Capcom. You have Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. Okay, maybe it's just Capcom that's into this crossover thing. But there's one other crossover that I feel like doesn't get a lot of attention, even though it definitely should. And that is anime crossover games. Specifically, anime crossover fighting games. The game that comes to my mind is J-Star's Victory, back on the PlayStation 3, I want to say. It's been ported to modern consoles now, but at the time, I remember seeing YouTube videos on this game, and I was blown away. Seeing Goku versus Luffy, Naruto versus Ichigo. It was just crazy to me at the time to see these characters fighting like this. And while it was a pretty big thing at the time, or at least for me, you don't see a lot of people talking about games like that nowadays. Or at least on my side of the internet. But recently, anime-style fighting games have been put on the spotlight. You have games like Guilty Gear Strive, which I know it's not anime, but it's anime style. And then of course you have Dragon Ball FighterZ, which was a phenomenal hit with both Dragon Ball fans and fighting game fans. Dragon Ball FighterZ, or Dragon Ball FighterZ, however you want to call it, was a fantastic fighting game and a love letter to the Dragon Ball series. Packed with a plethora of characters and interesting single-player mode, and it will soon have rollback netcode, which will make the online experience much better. Or so I hear. I'm a very casual fighting game fan. I really only play the game offline anyways, but whatever. The point is that FighterZ is one of the best Dragon Ball fighting games, and maybe the best anime fighting game that we have on the market, especially if we are talking about a traditional 2D fighting game. With the success of Dragon Ball FighterZ, it had me wonder about the future of the series. Could we get a sequel? Well, yeah, absolutely. And there are so many characters that you can still add to the roster, like Goku, and we can't forget about this Goku. But seriously though, actual Kid Goku from the original Dragon Ball would have been amazing to have. Like, he can use his power pole, flying Nimbus. He could just have so much creativity to him. But I digress. Again, they could absolutely make a sequel and call it Dragon Ball FighterZ 2 or something. But what if they didn't? Instead, making a 2D fighting game that incorporates other anime characters into the roster, and keeping the Arc System art style, while also mixing in other anime properties with their distinct looks. In other words, J-Star's FighterZ, I don't know. While keeping the Arc System art style, the last time anime characters crossed over in a fighting game was Jump Force, and that didn't go so well. It was an okay game with simple mechanics and an interesting style. But the idea of having these iconic characters clash is still a fantastic one. It's just too bad that there hasn't been a game like that has made a huge splash. Or at least over here in the West. Maybe there is some in Japan, but at least here in the West. Jump Force seemed to be that case, but because of the art style, I feel like it just didn't make as huge of a splash as it could have. Don't get me wrong, there are other crossovers like J-Star's Victory, Jump Superstars, and the sequel Jump Ultimate Stars. J-Star's Victory and Jump Force were both arena fighters, while Jump Superstars and Ultimate Stars were 2D Smash-like fighting games. Out of these games, I've only played Jump Force and J-Star's Victory. I enjoyed J-Stars for what it is, but Jump Force's art style was just too realistic for my liking. And not only that, but it just didn't really mesh well with the anime art styles that these characters came from. I think the effects looks cool though. Like whenever you're actually in motion fighting, that stuff can look really cool. It's also super cinematic, like holy crap. But again, the art style really holds this game back. And while it's cool to create a character, you're playing an anime crossover for a reason, and it's not to create your own character, it's to play as these iconic characters. Anime shouldn't look like this, I'm sorry. I think after the misstep of Jump Force, Bandai Namco should bring Arc System Works for an anime crossover 2D tag team fighting game. Essentially, make a Dragon Ball FighterZ with other anime characters. The art style would look so good for every anime character you could think of. This way we would get another great anime fighting game. Everyone wins. The tag team aspect would lend itself so well with these characters coming together. You could have such a diverse team, especially with the new Shonen Jump anime coming out. You could have a team of Tanjiro, Deku, and Jotaro facing off against Yusuke, Yuji, and Sasuke in this gorgeous style. It's such a perfect fit, and it would get fans of fighting games into anime, and it would get anime fans into fighting games. Just like with Dragon Ball FighterZ. Again, it's a win-win. Let me know down below your thoughts on a potential anime crossover fighting game. Do you think that this could happen? Or do you think that they would just make a Dragon Ball FighterZ 2 instead? I would be more hyped for the former, but honestly, I could see either of these things happening. Or who knows, maybe they would tackle one anime property like One Piece and just stick with that for a 2D fighting game. Or they might just stick with the 3D arena styles. I mean, it is a familiar territory for Bandai Namco to work with that. But again, I think it'd be so cool if they went for a more traditional 2D fighting game like Dragon Ball FighterZ. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. God bless.